or Godaval. BBC
Radio London.
It's 4:41, Shay here on BBC Radio London till 6 p.m. Now, Wimbledon commences next Monday. Really delighted to say that I'm taking the show on the road. And for the third year, I will be out live. And this time I'm going to be there for the opening day. Cannot wait for that. But my next guest who joins me in the studio is a friend of BBC Radio London. In fact, it's been a while since I've seen her. She's been on the show many a time for Week in Review. And she is a fantastic comedian. She's actually talked about it. But in all the time that she's come on the show, I never knew that she was actually a Wimbledon line judge for 20 years. In fact, she's created a show all about her experience. She's taking it to the Edinburgh Fringe in August. I'm so chuffed to say she joins me in the studio now, Pauline, who, by the way, the show is called Anyone for Tennis. It's great to have you back on Radio London, Pauline.
It's lovely to be back. Thank you for having me.
In all the times you've come on the show, you've never talked about being a Wimbledon line judge.
Oh, that's ridiculous, isn't it?
Is it? I mean, have other friends of yours kind of found out only recently because of your show then?
I don't know. I would imagine so. Any old friends knew because that was my obsession. I am a tennis obsessive and have been all my life.
Okay.
So I did Wimbledon for 20 years, but it's a little while ago now.
Right.
And then I've been doing comedy for 10 years and it's time to combine the two loves, isn't it?
I mean, perfect. It's a match made in heaven. I just think of...
That's a good pun.
It is, I know, I did try. But I do think of a lot of these, like films, Hollywood films, which will try their best to cover Wimbledon, including...
I worked on one of them.
Did you? Which one did you work on?
I was the technical advisor on Wimbledon.
Oh my gosh, I was literally going to say with Paul Bettany.
Paul Bettany and Kirsten Dunst.
And I actually really enjoyed that one, I have to say.
The credits were brilliant.
Well, yeah, of course, because you were in them, Pauline. But, of all of the times when Hollywood's tried to cover Wimbledon, it's just not the same as actually being there, right?
Right, absolutely.
The beauty of it, it's contagious. I was saying earlier on in the show that it's a dream come true for me when I was younger, to go to Wimbledon, and now to actually go and take my show there.
Yeah.
Why are we so infatuated with Wimbledon, do you think?
It's so British, isn't it? It's such an institution. Yeah. It's been around forever. It's all those traditions. It's, and tennis is fab. I'm sorry. Tennis is just a brilliant sport.
It is.
Yeah.
If you talk about the first day at Wimbledon as a line judge, if you can go back to that moment, do you remember it really
well? I remember it really well.
What was it like for you?
I was on court 17, which was the lowliest court in a way, because it was the highest number court in those days. And I remember being so honoured to do it and just feeling like I'd really reached the pinnacle. And then looking around my team, and I was the youngest person in my team by about 30 years.
My goodness. I
know, some of them were like 40.
Right.
It was a while ago. And the absolute joy of, in fact, even more so when you first go on the really big courts, you go on centre court and you think, it's centre court. And then you look down and you go, it's a tennis court. It's a tennis court in a massive space.
Sure.
But it's just a tennis court.
Right.
And I can do this. So there's all the joy of being there in that space. And then I can do this job. That's why I'm here. But it was just amazing to be part of. I loved it. And
then now you decide that actually, being in comedy for the last decade, you want to talk about your experience. Let's discuss the show.
It's time.
Anyone for Tennis.
Yes.
What do we get to enjoy with the show?
There's some gossip. There's some. There are some stories of what it was like, the good times and the bad times. And then it's sort of, as I've gone along with previewing it and writing it, it's become a love letter to the game as well. Because this is a relationship I've had since I was about 4, when I first picked up a racket and hit against a wall.
Wow.
And I have adored it ever since. And tennis has been my best friend, in good times and bad. She's been brilliant. She's taken me around the world. Still now, I'm 58 now, and I play tennis, better than I've played all my life, because I have the time to devote to it now, because comedy is evening work. And it's just a friend that's been with me all the way.
It's a lifelong relationship.
Yeah,
but
really is a good one. We don't have rows.
Oh, well, that's the beauty.
That's not quite true. She did hurt me a lot last year. I had to have surgery for a torn meniscus in my knee.
Oh dear.
But she welcomed me back. I've been doing my physio
with open arms.
Back. Yes. Yeah.
There is a beauty in tennis that it can, it's you, the racket, and your opponent, of course. But you can become I think for players sometimes really obsessed with just the fine tuning of it.
Yes.
I really want to know, and I appreciate you've got to come to the show, but talk to me about some of those stories, your time at Wimbledon as a line judge. Is there a lot of competitiveness between the staff, I wonder?
Between line judges? Probably some, because certainly we were assessed every single time we went on court. We were given a mark out of 5.
Okay.
If you did a good job and nothing much happened, you got a 3. If you messed up, you got a 2. If you messed up badly, you got a 1.
Ooh.
If you did well, you got a 4. And now I'm in comedy where you get stars for your shows. 3, 4, 5 stars, 2 stars. It's the same kind of pressure. But that was every time you did a single shift. So you'd do an hour and a half on court or an hour on court, and you would be marked, and you had to keep performing, and the people who got the best marks got selected for the finals.
Okay.
And it was, so there wasn't a competitiveness there and then. You didn't want other people to do badly, but there was, that, I hope I did one of the best. If I did the best, then I would be the one that was selected for the final. So there was that. But like any small organisation, there was pettiness and bickering because, why did she get that court and I didn't get that court? Oh, look at him on the service line for that match. So it was all of that. But that's any small organisation, isn't it?
And what about the famous faces that you got to see on the courts, maybe on centre court? Are there stories you can share?
Well, my era was the 90s and the noughties. So I was sort of Sampras and Ivanisevic and Becker and Steffi Graf and the Williamses.
Some of the greats.
Amazing days. I was on the first time I ever line judged. Actually, it wasn't the first time, but the first time in this country that I line judged Serena against Venus. I've never been so nervous in my life. I was on the right baseline. I remember it really well.
Oh my gosh!
And the tension, and people used to say, didn't they? Oh, they work it out between them. One will win this day. They were so in the moment, and I could feel that sibling rivalry, and it was just the most intense, incredible experience. I was terrified the whole time. I came off court and was like, oh, that was amazing. it was a massive buzz. It was a massive buzz.
You could feel the rivalry between the sisters.
And you could feel the love as well. As soon as it finished,
really?
they absolutely adored each other. Yeah. I think so. From what I could see.
You can tell, decades later, Serena and Venus, that, the Williams sisters, there is a lot of love. But I think, obviously, when you are playing a game like tennis, you're there to win.
Oh, it goes out the window. Oh, yeah, because there were people who were good friends off court, but it goes out the window when you're on court.
Yes.
But they were very good at compartmentalising it. I think they were brought up to, weren't they? So, yeah. No, it was an amazing thing. I was also on that final. Do you remember the final with Jana Novotná? Lovely Jana Novotná, and she was so nervous on the final, and she was doing really well, and then she caved and she cried in the Duchess's arms. Remember?
Yeah.
I remember that one. Again, I was on the baseline, and I looked down at the first point. She went to serve, and I had to watch her feet to make sure she didn't foot fault. Her feet were shaking. Her feet.
Oh my gosh! What do you do as a line judge at that point? You just got to let them get on with it. But I feel like you want to hug him, surely.
You do a bit. Yeah, I remember thinking, "Oh, bless you. This is just. I can't imagine. Imagine trying to serve a ball in that kind of intensity."
You look at someone like Emma Raducanu now, and she talks about very openly about how she feels on and off court. But back then in the 90s and noughties, it wasn't necessarily the case that you would hear from tennis players, in general, talking about their feelings, but especially from female, players around those nerves, the pressure, feeling the weight of it.
And even way more recently than that, this is something new, I think, in this generation of players. Right. They talk about feelings. They openly get on off court. And it's so much healthier. And, Yannick Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz, and Emma Raducanu as well. They talk openly about what's going on. She just seems so much more relaxed this year.
Yeah.
She's had such a tough time off court and so much, hate on social media and all of that. And the way she comes out now and is much more laid back on court and relaxed. And I haven't checked the score this afternoon. I was checking it on the tube, so I'm a bit nervous about how she was doing. But yeah, it's I think it's so much healthier. They're so much more mentally healthy than they were.
I'm intrigued by that, because actually you've got a fantastic lens at which to look at Wimbledon now, because of the fact that you were a Wimbledon line judge for 20 years in the 90s and noughties. When you saw the tennis players, off court, was there a lot of pressure? Was it really different in terms of their demeanour? Because they weren't able to express or they didn't. It just wasn't the thing to do to express how you felt. Feelings weren't really a part of it.
No, because if you let your feelings be seen by other people, then that's something they've got to beat you with.
Yeah,
Maria Sharapova sort of very famously said, "I am not here to make friends," and she did not have friends in tennis at all, because if they saw some weakness, then they would exploit it. But actually, it turns out not. It turns out actually people can be nice to each other off court and it's okay. I think it's a wonderful thing. We didn't see them off court very much. We weren't allowed to. Yeah. But I did see, I saw some horrible things. I remember once abroad seeing a player come off court having lost and her coach slap her across the face.
Goodness.
It's known that there's been abuse in tennis over the years. And that was the most shocking thing. That was quite a low level of professional tennis. But, we heard the stories. We heard the stories as well amongst some of the top people as well, who had a tough time with families and coaches and tennis parents.
So if we bring it back to your show now.
Yes, let's get back to the gossip.
But I just wonder, what would you say to anyone who's thinking, well, firstly, I don't know what a line judge is, but secondly, do we even need it with the technology nowadays?
Well, it's gone. That's why I've done the show this year. So as of Monday, Wimbledon starts again and there won't be line judges anymore.
Did you have a period of mourning?
At first, when it first happened, I thought, yeah, that's fine. I don't do it anymore, so it didn't feel personal. But I thought, maybe we want things to be the highest standard that they can. And the more I've explored it and explored my memories of it, the sadder I've become, actually, because I think it's part of what makes Wimbledon, is all of that pomp and the nice uniforms, or whether you like them or not, and the way that people stood, and we always marched onto court the same, literally with our legs in sync with each other, with the jacket over your left arm, with the badge showing. Everybody went into that stance at the same time. Yeah. So the line judges, if people don't know, were the people at the back and the sides of the court that literally watched the lines and decided whether the ball was in or out. But we were very, very good at it, and there are as many, I would imagine there are as many problems with line calling now, and there are as many problems with umpires from players as there ever were, because players need something to push against. And I'm not sure that taking the humanity out of sports makes sport better. I really don't.
So do you feel that you're going to enjoy Wimbledon as much this year, that they will not be line judges as you have in the past?
I don't think so. I mean, the tennis will still be amazing, but I think it's sad. I think it's particularly with Wimbledon, because they were so iconic with the uniforms and the way that centre court looks. Compared with any other professional tennis court in the world, it's not covered in advertising. You had this bare green background with these blue and white uniforms. Yeah. It was iconic. And those line judges did a tremendous job. They really, I trained a lot of them, so I'm still taking credit. But they really did, and it was a beautiful thing. It's part of what makes Wimbledon so special. So I think it's a real loss. It's
I can really feel the passion in your voice just around it. But then, of course, there'll be those who say, no, actually, now it's going to be easier just to enjoy the game rather than the battles and the confusion and the umming and ahhing.
Yeah, but players can still go to the VAR to see if the ball was up or not up, and it was a double bounce or whatever. They can still ask to see a video replay of the call, so you can still slow the game down that way. I'm not sure. I think we want personalities. We want people, doing a great job. And also, there were also the little bits of joy that, the Wimbledon funnies at the end.
Yes.
I love the funnies, the video with some music of funny things that happened. A line judge gets hit by a ball, or a player goes up and hands them a racket or something like that. Those are it's just part of the loveliness of it, and tennis should be that. And it also means to get a bit sort of small p political about it, it means that the next generation of chair umpires, where are they going to come from?
Right.
Who's going to be doing chair umpiring at the top level when they can't go through line judging as a way to get in?
Do you miss the line judging when you did it?
I sort of do and I sort of don't. I still have the odd stress stream 20 years later. But I loved being right in the heart of it.
Yeah.
But I've also really loved becoming a fan again. Okay. And I have to tell you, Andy Murray would not have had that career without me yelling at the telly. I yelled at that telly and he won matches, and
Absolutely.
It was all about me.
That connection was there.
Yeah. So I used to be yelling out and fault, and then I was yelling, come on,
let's go.
And to my favourite players. And I do love that. I actually prefer that than even going to Wimbledon. I love watching on telly and yelling at my telly.
I just wonder, with you taking your show on the road, you're going to be at Edinburgh Fringe in August with Anyone for Tennis. Is this part of, for you, reliving those years that you were a line judge, and also kind of, giving the final hurrah as they're not there for Wimbledon.
In some ways it is, although I'm hoping it's going to go elsewhere. So I've been previewing it in tennis clubs actually, rather than comedy clubs.
Nice.
And my wish is to take this on tour afterwards, but not on tour to comedy clubs, but to tennis clubs.
What has the reaction been so far with the
so far so good? I hope anyone who's seen it will agree. Yeah, it's been really fun because I'll in a tennis club I'll do a Q&A afterwards, and we have big old nerdy conversations as well as the comedy. But yeah, so I'm hoping that tennis clubs will keep welcoming me, because there are tennis clubs around every corner, especially in London. I did a preview recently in Telford, and emailed around local tennis clubs and said, would you be interested in coming? One of the tennis clubs said, well, we'd love it, but we're Telford Tennis Club in, I think it was Lewisham or Streatham or something.
Yeah.
I said, oh, whoops. I said, well, would you like the show? And they said, yes. So I'm taking it there.
Fantastic.
September, October. So there are tennis clubs everywhere, and there are people who love the game, and I hope I can keep reliving this lovely memory for years.
And if anyone wants more details for you, what's the website, Pauline?
paulineair.co.uk. So it's EYRE, like Jane.
Lovely. So paulineair.co.uk. Such a pleasure having you back on the show. You're going to come back for week in review soon,
yes,
I hope.
Please, love to.
I look forward to that. And as they say, break a leg when you're in Edinburgh Fringe. Thanks for reliving Wimbledon with me today.
Have fun on Monday.
I cannot wait. Thank you again. paulineair.co.uk for more details.